Hey guys, welcome to the show that gives you the tools you need to break through into all you were created to be, to live your life full of hope and purpose. I'm Pam Ramey, and Jesus girls, let's find our roar. Hey, Jesus girls, Pam Ramey here, and welcome to our final show of 2022. Golly, it's hard to believe that. This is also our 30th show. We launched our first show in June. And you know what, right now, got to give a shout out to our listeners across the U.S. We are so grateful for you. Also, our listeners in Canada, Belgium, Spain, the U.K., South America, Mongolia, and Africa. Wow. You know, God is just really getting Jesus Girl Roar out to you. Our goal, as always, is for you to be encouraged and to be equipped to live your life overflowing to the brim with purpose and destiny, because God has such amazing things planned for your life, and He wants us walking out our destiny. Well, on today's show, we are going to discuss a topic that's pretty hot right now, and a lot of parents are kind of going into more of homeschooling or co-op schooling. And we're going to be discussing that today with a mother of 5 children who is deep in the trenches of homeschooling. She also happens to be a good friend of mine, and we do a lot of things in our church together with the creative arts. We can talk about that. But today I want to welcome my good friend and our guest, Tonya Babitz.
Thank you so much for having me, Pam. This today is truly an honor and blessing.
Well, it is an honor and blessing for us to have you in the Jesus Girl Roar studio. And, you know, Tonya, it's been a lot of fun. We met, 3 years ago, maybe-ish?
That's right.
And God has really given us some great opportunities to do some creative arts in the church and with dance, with drama,
yes.
And it's been a lot. It's so much fun just kind of connecting with the creatives, don't you think?
It really is. And it gives me a chance to get outside of my 4 walls of the homeschooling, which I'm called to homeschool, but it's wonderful to tap into that part of my life and the creative side that I don't get to do very often. So it's been awesome.
That is really awesome. So you're a wife and
Yes.
you're a mom. You're also a fitness professional,
Yes.
as well as a creative. And so you know, it's nice that you do have, like you said, those opportunities to kind of get outside of those 4 walls.
Yes.
So that you can refresh yourself, so that you can be everything that God has called
Absolutely.
you to be. I love what you just said, Tonya, about how you have been called to homeschooling. And as you've been called to dancing and be, you know, into the creative arts. So you're married.
Yes.
And your husband's name?
John.
So when did you and John decide to homeschool?
So really since the beginning, when our firstborn was a baby.
Oh, really?
He felt very strong, very strong that we should homeschool our children when they, you know, get at that age of school. And I wasn't on board. And I said, there's no way. I don't have the ability. I struggled through school myself. School was very difficult for me. And the thought of having to try to teach my children, even though I had a degree in education, I just did not think I was capable and fit for that job. So I made it clear to him that there was no way I could do that. And he just kept in prayer.
Well, you know, I think a lot of parents can relate to that, where
Yes.
one parent is on board,
Yes.
but you kind of gotta both be on board with it, don't you?
Absolutely.
So how many children do you have? Can you just tell us their ages and their names?
Sure. Our oldest is Shaylee, and will be 17 on New Year's Eve.
Well, we know what you were doing New Year's Eve 17 years ago,
Yes.
how you were celebrating, right?
That's right. That's right. And then we have Isaac, who is 15, Nathan, 13.
3 teenagers in the house. There you
teenagers.
go.
Yeah, we're busy.
You busy.
And then 8-year-old twins, boy and a girl, Zach and Mila.
Wow. So you've got a full home, girl, don't you?
Yes.
Yeah. So you're not on board.
I was not on board.
Husband John is praying that you would get on board.
That's
so
right.
now we've got Shaylee who's born, and then we've got Isaac has come along.
Yes.
And so when did you start to feel that shift that you thought it was something you could do? So did it feel oppressive to you at first when you kind of thought about it?
Well, in the very beginning, yes. But when my daughter, my oldest, was in preschool, she was 4, I was not having any peace toward the end of her preschool. And this was a Christian preschool. But there were things that were going on that I did not have peace about, and began praying, just assuming I was going to put her in a different preschool.
Tonya, I'm just going to stop you right there. Could you share what some of the things were? Can you share some of those things or one of those things?
Yes, there was not a lot of, there were things going on the playground that the teachers weren't paying attention to.
Got you.
Inappropriate things.
Oh, okay. My.
So that was concerning to me, that there just wasn't enough eyes, apparently,
watching the kids. Yeah.
Yes. And there were just other things too about, I just felt like that there wasn't enough instruction. Like loosey-goosey. A little loosey-goosey.
Got you.
I guess.
So now Shaylee's 4 and you are feeling you're not having peace. That's a big thing right there.
That's right.
So where did you go from there?
So I began to pray, not even thinking about homeschooling as an option. And one day I was driving in my car, and like I said, this was toward the end of the preschool year. So I knew at this point we were just going to finish it out because it had been a couple months, and I think we were in maybe April, and I was riding down the road, driving in my car, and the Lord just came to me as I was driving. I don't even remember it. It was a moment, those pivotal moments you have with the Lord in your life. This was one of them. And he said, "You're going to homeschool." And I felt an overwhelming peace.
Did you?
That I can't even explain.
That did surpass all of your understanding.
Absolutely. I did. And I got home. I had so much joy. I couldn't wait to get her out of there. I just pulled her out right away.
Did you?
I did. I wasn't going to. I was going to let her finish till June 1st. And the Lord said, "Get her out.
We're done.
We're done.
We're done. We're moving on." So that is exciting, Tonya. That's exciting. And now you go home and you say to your husband, John,
"Guess what, honey?
I'm a home."
Yes. And he, of course, was rejoicing and very happy.
And you had mentioned that he just kind of stopped talking about it, but was praying about it.
That's right. He didn't really, in that year, hadn't really said anything about homeschooling.
But he was saying it to his Heavenly Father. They were having a conversation about that. Isn't that just how God works?
Yes.
I have to give him some mad props for just, going before the Lord and letting God, just deal with where he wanted your heart to be in this matter, because it's different for everybody, right?
It is.
So, okay. So now where do we go from there, Tonya?
So I had no idea what to do. So
that would be my first thing. I have no idea what to do.
Right. And if I'm being honest, it's been several years ago now, 12 years ago. I don't really remember what I did immediately. I just know there was an excitement because the Lord had called me to do it. And I knew with that peace that I just needed to do it. I didn't know how it was going to look. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know how and what I was to do. But the Lord led me to the right places without spending a lot of money, because we knew that this was going to be a sacrifice. I was not going to work, and that I was, it was going to be a single income.
So there were a lot of changes in your family instantly, just with you dedicating yourself full time to the homeschooling. And you're right. You're right. And that sacrifice, sometimes a lot of families can't make that. And so, what a blessing that you were able to do it, but you knew it was going to be a big change.
Yes. Yes.
So, I loved also what you just said, that you just kind of don't even remember how you got started. You just got started, right?
Yeah.
You just did it.
I did.
Now, did you homeschool on your own? Were you involved in a co-op? What did that look like?
In the beginning, in the first 2 years, I would say it was just strictly me. My first two, Shaylee and Isaac, are 20 months apart to the day.
And oh my goodness. Wow. Oh my goodness.
And I just homeschooled them. I didn't know anything else. We were home, and I did make a point to make sure we did get out, play with friends, go to the park, things like that.
That was an important part of the curriculum as well.
Yes. And so we were home. We didn't join any co-ops for the first 2 years. And I didn't spend a lot of money. I was able to, God just showed me some things that I could do without having to spend a lot of money on curriculum. And that was a blessing.
What are maybe just a couple of ideas? Can you share some of those that God showed you to do?
I went to Walgreens, but of course these books are everywhere now, because again, I didn't know. So the Lord led me to Walgreens one day. I was getting other things there, and I saw these books, these big books. I don't remember what they're called, but they have every subject for kindergarten, because that's where we were at.
Yeah.
And it was $10.
He makes a way where there seems to be no way, doesn't he?
Yes.
Over and over again.
That's right. And that's how I started. And my daughter was very active. Physically. She had a very difficult time focusing and sitting still. And so I did a lot on the trampoline. We did a lot with Cheerios, with counting, hands-on. None of this cost money. We already had the trampoline in the backyard. And first of all, what I did learn, this was very important, and I would encourage anybody to do this, is to learn your child's learning style.
Ooh, that's a good word. That is such a good word. Because there are different learning styles. And I'm sure with your children, they don't all learn the same.
That's right.
What are some differences in the learning styles that you have with your children?
Well, she, again, was very active. She was a very hands-on learner. And my son was very auditory. And he could just hear something one time, even if he was busy doing something, and he would remember it. And he just needed the auditory.
Isn't that interesting? How do you find your children's learning style? Tonya, did you grow into that? Was it through observation? I did. I
didn't really know about learning styles. And I believe I met a homeschool mom along the way, maybe a year into it, that told me about this. And I knew right away my daughter was a hands-on, kinesthetic
yeah.
learner.
Yeah. But it also gave you confirmation and maybe a little bit of an aha, like, yeah, okay, that's why I have to really teach my children differently.
Yes.
And yet here it is all on you, and they have different learning styles.
That's right.
That's got to be a tough thing for a mom or dad who's homeschooling, understanding the learning styles and then being able to teach based on that.
It was very difficult at times, especially with her need for constant kinesthetic and movement. And I had to be a lot more creative.
Thank goodness you're a fitness girl.
Yeah.
I mean, really.
Yes.
That's what I'm thinking. You probably were out there on the trampoline with her, so that's good.
We were quite a bit. And I just learned that when she needed a break, especially from math, and I learned that very early on, I needed to give her a break. Go run around the house 3 times and come back.
There's a good word, Jesus girls. If you're homeschooling and your kids need a break, I love that. Go run around the house 3 times.
Yes.
Did it make a difference?
It made a huge difference. And she did it every day. We lived in Florida at the time. So, the weather was always fine. She could do that. And she would run around that house, or she'd go count to 100, jump 100 times on the trampoline. That's what worked for her.
That's some good wisdom, Tonya. That is really some good wisdom to take. Really, you took the pressure off of Shaylee, but you also took the pressure off of yourself by learning that and implementing that.
Yes. Because it was not my learning style. I was just give me what I need to do and I'll do it. And so for me, I think it's also important as a homeschool mom / teacher, because you are teaching your kids.
Yes, absolutely.
To know yourself and to know what are you capable of. There were many things I was not capable of in my own strength. And it was only by the grace of God that I was able to get through teaching certain things.
That is a great word right there, Tonya, is getting to know ourselves and the teaching, getting to know your own teaching style, and so that and how you could accommodate the differences in your children's learning style.
Yes.
That's all of that has to somehow, like a puzzle, fit together, right?
Yes.
So when I'm sure have been and still are some really challenging moments with homeschooling. What are some scriptures that you just have stood on or stand on that get you through those really hard moments when you've got one child that needs to run around the house and the other one is auditory? Like, what are you standing on here?
There's been I've had a lot of scriptures over the years that I've had to stand on. Of course, Romans 8:28, that God works all things together for those, for good, for those that love him and that are called. And I was called to this.
You were called to it.
So I stood on that even when we had bad days, because just like anybody in homeschooling, there's bad days.
Right.
And it's okay. And so I would stand on the truth that it would work out. This would work out for good, even if we're having a bad day. And
I loved what else you just said. And I think it's very poignant, Tonya, that God called you. You went from having zero peace about doing this to being in complete peace when you had that encounter with the Holy Spirit.
Yes.
And so even in those dark moments, I loved how you just said, I was called to this. And so I could stand on that promise from God that as long as I know that I know that I know that I'm called to this, I can do this because I can do all things.
And that's right. And that was the other one. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me.
Yeah.
And the joy of the Lord is my strength. So all of that. He is my strength. He is my source. And I had to really stand on the joy of the Lord as my strength. I do to this day.
I'm with you. Really, if we just know one verse, Nehemiah 8:10, the joy of the Lord is our strength.
That's right.
We've got it. It is. It's such an important verse. It really is. Tonya, let me ask you this: do you have maybe a story about homeschooling where you really saw some supernatural breakthrough in one of your children or in a specific situation?
Well, I have several. I'll just name one or two.
Oh, we'd love it.
So in 2014, I gave birth to my twins. And my daughter was 8. My oldest daughter was 8. And Isaac was 7. They're 6.5, 7. So we're in early homeschooling, elementary.
And you have twins.
And I have twins. And I didn't come home from the hospital after giving birth to them because I almost actually died on the table.
Oh, my.
And so I did not come home for 2 weeks. I was in a coma. And
my goodness, Tonya.
Yes.
Wow. You were in a coma for 2 weeks?
I was in a coma for 7 days. And then in recovery for the other 7 days. And it's a miracle because the doctor had told my husband I would not come home for a minimum of 30 days after the coma.
Oh, my.
Because of rehabilitation that was needed and strengthening my legs and my body because I had been in that coma and I had had 11 surgeries and
11 surgeries throughout this process of being in the coma?
It was actually, let me think. I believe it might have been 8 during the process of the coma, but then I had a few more before that. So really maybe 7 or 8. I don't even really know for sure.
This was not an easy birth for you.
Right. So I did come home on day 14, which was a miracle because, like I said, they were saying 30 to 60 days that I was to stay in the hospital.
My goodness.
But I had to regain strength and wasn't able to do a whole lot. So there was a month there we did nothing. The whole month of March.
You were surviving.
I was surviving. Then that same year, the end of November, it was right after Thanksgiving, I ruptured my Achilles tendon.
Oh, my goodness.
And I was completely out. Surgery, medicine affected me terribly. It was very intense. Very intense.
That's a really traumatic year, Tonya. My goodness gracious, for all of that to happen. That all happened in the same year.
It did.
Wow.
So I tell people that you're going to have traumas. And then there was a third trauma that I won't get into, but it was about a year later. And it was terrible. It was a lot in really a 2-year time. There was just a lot of traumas in a 2-year period. And so homeschooling, I was doing it, but I was truly only doing it on the strength of God and His grace and His mercy every single day. And
did you feel like you were in survival mode during that whole time?
Absolutely. And so this is the breakthrough and the testimony of where God and His goodness came through. Because as a homeschool mom, you feel, even if you don't have all the traumas, you feel like you are never doing enough. That, my goodness, what is going to happen? I haven't done enough. We missed a week. Well, I missed more than that with my kids. What's going to happen? Are they going to miss this stuff? And then they get to high school and
they're behind.
So all these things go through your mind. And that's what I was battling. And really questioning, should I even be doing this still? Or
did I hear God right? Was that,
I was.
Did I hear God? Was that just me? Did you go through that?
Absolutely. Yes, I did. And that was when the Lord met me again in his gracious love and reminded me that it's going to be okay. And he gave me this. He said, I just want you to focus on the 3 R's of homeschooling: reading, writing, which is a WR, and arithmetic, math. That was it. And he said, they, up until 4th grade, you don't need to worry about all this extra stuff. Just do the important things. And you don't need to put a ton of time into this schooling. And that's what I had been doing, and I was wondering if that was okay.
Did you feel when you had that word from the Lord, Tonya, did you feel like you could exhale finally?
Yes.
Yeah.
It changed my homeschool world.
I love that. That is fantastic.
It really is.
It took the weight off of your shoulders that you were putting on yourself.
Absolutely.
That's a good word for homeschoolers, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
It is. I was realizing I don't need to spend 3 hours schooling my children. They are learning through what they're experiencing every day in their environment, in our house, places we go, hands-on activities. They're learning through play. And that was what I needed to hear.
That is so good.
In those seasons. And so the miracle that came from that was, by the time my daughter was about 12, all of the attention issues, all of the struggles she had completely changed.
Really?
And she was able to sit for long periods of time, learn and soak in things. She knew things, and my son, I'm not going to leave him out. They knew things that I have no idea how they knew, because I do not remember teaching them.
Isn't that, I'll tell you one thing, because I do know and love your children, but Shaylee, who is almost 17, is a brilliant writer. She's just a brilliant writer. And you didn't have to teach her how to be a brilliant writer who's writing a novel and an amazing poet, because that God is stirring up that gifting in her. And he takes our children beyond the ability that we can ever take them, right?
That is right. And I have seen it firsthand with her, and how God, I was so concerned about her education when she was 8. And now she has 1 year after this one. She's dual enrolled in college classes. She's a straight A student, and there's absolutely nothing I did. Because remember, if you were to look in the natural, you would say really a year or 2 was sort of lost. Not a full year or 2, but a good chunk of that time.
A good chunk of that time through 11 surgeries.
Yes.
Being in a coma, having to have your Achilles tendon repaired. Oh my goodness, that is a lot. You are such an overcomer, Tonya. I have so much respect and admiration for you and for parents who are just willing to step out and do it, because you grow into your skill set too, as you're learning things about your children, you're learning things about yourself. And I'm sure that there's just so many places we can go with this. But let me just ask you, if you could give a word of encouragement to any of our listeners who are homeschooling, who are thinking of homeschooling, what would you say?
Enjoy your children. Enjoy the time with them, and do not put so much pressure on yourself or them.
Good word.
It's okay to take a day and just watch movies in your pajamas all day. Mm-hmm. It's okay.
It's okay. Give yourself permission to not have to be on all the time.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I love what you just said too, Tonya. Enjoy the process and enjoy your children. Enjoy your children.
Yes.
Yeah. Whew, boy, I think this would be a really great time to make a declaration over some of the words that you stood on, that you knew deep down in your soul that God was breathing that courage into you. You knew that you were called to this. You knew that he was working everything out together for your good and for the good of your children. And so, how about, Tonya, if we just make a declaration over some of these truths? And Jesus, girls, what we're going to do with our declaration is Tonya's going to say part of the declaration. We're going to repeat this after her. And this is important, to open your mouth and say these words out loud, because this is a declaration and a decree is to renew our mind, to the truth of how God sees us, of what God's doing in our lives. It's not to move God, it's to move us. So that I love how our Pastor Craig always says, we don't declare to move God because God's not stuck. So, but God wants us to get unstuck, right, Tonya?
Right, absolutely.
So why don't you lead us through this declaration? Jesus, girls, line in the sand. We're saying this with intention.
I decree and declare, Lord, you have strengthened me deep within my soul.
I decree and declare, Lord, that you have strengthened me deep within my soul.
And you have breathed fresh courage into me.
And you have breathed fresh courage into me.
Therefore, I can do everything you've called me to do.
Therefore, I can do everything you've called me to do.
Amen.
Amen. That is such a great declaration. And Jesus, girls, I hope you are saying that out loud over yourself. And Tonya, what an encouraging word you have given to us today. It's been so much fun having you on the show and just sharing your story. And I just know that so many parents need to hear how they can get started, and they don't have to have a lot of money. They don't have to have all of the curriculum. They just need to do it, right? They just need to step out and do it.
Yes.
And, before we head out today, it's so much fun having a fitness person on the show with me. Let's give our girls a few tips going into the new year in terms of just staying healthy. You have any ideas, Tonya?
I really believe the importance for all of us is to change things up in our exercise routine.
Yeah.
And not getting stuck.
It's easy to get stuck. Probably in homeschooling too, isn't it?
Yes.
It's easy to get stuck. So like you said, you had to change things up with Shaylee.
Yes.
And have her run around the house and jump on the trampoline. We have to change things up in our body as well.
Absolutely. If we keep doing the same thing over and over, we're not going to get the results we want. It's with anything we do in life.
It really is. I think about what you just said and how our muscles have memory.
Yes.
And so let's say we're always doing the exact same thing the same way. Then pretty soon our muscle, let's say we're doing a bicep curl the exact same way all the time. Right. Pretty soon our bicep goes yawn, been there, done that. And it stops responding so much, right?
That's right.
Yeah. So give us an idea of how we might change something up.
So in a week, if let's say you want to do workouts maybe 3 days a week, one day it may just, if it's a pretty day out, you may just say, you know what? This is a good day for a nice brisk walk. And that's it. And then maybe the second time is more focused on weights, maybe some abs. And then the third day, mix it up.
Maybe do a little bit of everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I know there was a long season in my fitness journey where I was focused mostly on cardio. And I learned real fast that it didn't do any good. Just cardio all the time.
I know a lot of cardio junkies. I really do. And you're right. You've got to mix it up. You gotta. Yeah. We cross train for a purpose, right?
That's right. That's right.
I didn't know you were a cardio junkie. I did not know that. Yeah.
I was. That's the key word.
Yeah. Well, but this is, like you said, it's all balance. It's all balance. So you don't want to be doing the same thing every day. And also it keeps working out and moving our body. It keeps it more interesting and exciting, right?
Yes. Which I think is very important.
Yeah.
Because we start getting bored. We're going on a treadmill every time we go to the gym. That gets boring.
It does get boring. Yeah. Or doing the exact same workout, the exact same way. I know. I'm with you. I need some variety. Yes. And so I think that's the word for our Jesus girls. Like, get some variety and have some fun. Same thing with you in your homeschooling. Find things you love to do.
Yes.
One of the things I always like to say to my clients is, do you know what the very, very best exercise is on the planet? The one you will do.
That's right. That's right.
It's the one you'll do. So if it's taking that brisk walk or hopping in a heated pool this time of year, I just wanted to emphasize that word heated.
Right.
Anyway, most of all, we want you to move.
Yes.
Because we're created to move. God created us to move, right, Tonya?
That's right.
Yeah.
Very important.
And do different things, mix it up, shake it up a little bit. So I think that's going to wrap us up for today. Tonya Babitz, what a joy it has been having you on Jesus Girl Roar. Thanks for being here.
You're very welcome, and I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, I think we're going to have you back. There's probably a lot more things we can talk about. We could talk for a long time, I think.
Yes, we could.
Yes, we could.
Thank you, Pam.
Oh, Jesus Girls, thanks so much for being here. We are so happy that you have joined with us during these last 30 shows, and we look forward to being with you in 2023. We love you. Jesus is crazy about you, and we truly can't wait to be with you next time on Jesus Girl Roar.